From the introduction of the airless basketball prototype to the concerns about its performance outdoors, here's how the NBA players have reacted to the new basketball designs. So you know how the NBA switched from Spalding to Wilson basketballs in 2021? Well, let me tell you that Wilson has now been working on this super cool project, the airless basketball prototype, and it's about to be a game changer. In fact, they've been working at this for 5 whole years, and now they've got an amazing prototype to show off. To add to that, they plan to release it soon, and they're hoping to get it in the players' hands within the next year. They're even doing a test run to see what the athletes think. Basically, they revealed this design during the 2023 Slam Dunk Contest, and one of the players, Kenyon Martin Jr., used it for a jaw-dropping dunk. It was the first time the world laid eyes on this futuristic ball. And you know what? This new design got everyone excited. Now here's the cool part. Wilson is using 3D printing to make these incredible balls. How awesome is that? They tried different 3D printing methods, and the only one that nailed the feel, bounce, and durability of a real basketball is what they call SLS, or selective laser sintering. Fancy term, I know. Now, you might be wondering, people can just use a 3D printer to make it at their home, right? Well, not quite. Because these SLS machines are super expensive, way beyond the typical home printer budget. But the company has assured that it'll be worth the wait to get your hands on one of these masterpieces. Right now, they're dyeing these balls black, but in the future, you'll be able to get them in any color you want. With that said, let's see the initial reaction of the players when the NBA switched to Wilson balls in 2021. Honestly, when the season began, things got pretty crazy. What happened was that the players were missing shots left and right. I mean, even Damian Lillard, the sharpshooter himself, was shooting a shocking 23% from three-point range. To make things worse, the league saw its lowest three-point percentage since 1998, and turnovers were at their highest since 2006. Well, that's not exactly the smoothest transition, right? What's more, a lot of players, including Paul George, noticed something off about the new Wilson basketball. He mentioned that it didn't have the same touch or softness as the Spalding ball. Some players even warned that there'd be plenty of bad misses throughout the season, and they were right. But hey, fast forward to now, and you're looking at the awesome airless basketball prototype. Thankfully, the company has learned from its past mistakes and thoroughly tested this new model. In fact, the players who've dunked it, like Kenyon Martin Jr., have said it feels just like a normal leather ball. Plus, to make sure it's super durable, the manufacturers have gone as far as to swing at the ball with a baseball bat. You might be thinking, didn't the league already mess up big time when they changed the ball material back in 2006? Well, you're right. Back then, when they switched from a leather ball to microfiber, it didn't go over too well. But this time, with all the science and testing behind it, they're hoping for a much smoother ride. With that said, here's what went wrong with the Spalding ball in 2006. Basically, there was a shortage of the leather they needed for the regular game balls, so they thought of trying something different. And that's how the players were introduced to the cross-traxian basketballs. Now get this, Spalding promised these new balls would eliminate the usual break-in period that balls need, which sounded like a slam dunk idea. But oh boy, just 1 month into the season, players were already raising some major concerns. Shaq wasn't holding back. He said it felt like one of those cheap balls you buy at the local store, and he even suggested someone should be fired for this mess. Ouch! But you know what? The MVP Steve Nash wasn't too thrilled either, saying that it was tearing his fingers apart. Even LeBron's rival, Deshaun Stevenson, didn't hold back, simply saying that he hated it. Hold on, because the complaints kept pouring in. Ray Allen, the NBA's best shooter at that time, couldn't get used to it either. In fact, he had to constantly moisturize his hands with lotion to avoid cracks and splits caused by the balls. That's not all. Jason Terry showed reporters what looked like paper cuts on his fingers, and Dirk Nowitzki revealed it made his hands bleed. So, how did Spalding get it so wrong? Well, their approach was quite similar to how Wilson is handling their new basketball. You won't believe that they texted cross-traxian without inviting any NBA players in the process. They only let retired players test it out, and you bet it was met with serious backlash. Coming back to the 3D version, it seems to have several issues as well. So it's clear that this ball is more sustainable, and it can be recreated consistently without any variations. Sounds promising, right? But here's the thing. Some people have had the chance to get their hands on it, and they seem to have several concerns, with the major one being shooting. I mean, that's a big deal in basketball, right? After all, no one wants to throw disorderly shots just because of the ball they're using. Now, the thing with this airless version is that it has these holes in it, which affects the airflow and something called the Magnus effect. To put it into perspective, when you shoot a basketball with backspin, it can make it curve in the air. Yup, like a boomerang. So it looks like the increased airflow through these holes might have a slight impact on how the ball behaves when you shoot it. Now, I'll be honest with you. There isn't any hard data or scientific evidence to back this up just yet, but it's something to keep in mind. What's more, some experts have even compared it to a wiffle ball, which, can curve like crazy as compared to a regular one. But here's the thing. This airless version isn't lightweight. It's the same weight as a normal basketball. Still, there have been concerns over its performance on windy days. Because this airless version allows airflow through it, it might just be more resistant to the winds during shots. Moving on, the plot thickens. Another issue with the 3D prototype might be its ability to bounce. Now, Wilson has claimed that it perfectly bounces, and they've put it to the test at all kinds of angles to ensure a consistent bounce, whether it's hitting the holes or the grooves. That's a relief, right? But wait, because NBA fans still have a question about whether these basketballs will lose their bounce over time. Well, let me tell you that some eagle-eyed fans have noticed something quite strange about this basketball's sound when it bounces. In the official video released by Wilson, you can hear that it just sounds a little bit odd. Some fans highlighted that they've always loved the satisfying sound of a regular basketball bouncing on the court. Guess they'll have to get used to this new tune. Now here's another thing that's got everyone scratching their head. How does the airless version feel? I mean, grip is essential when you're dribbling and shooting. No wonder people are wondering if those holes might provide a better grip than a traditional basketball. And let's face it, all the players sweat during the game, so you've got to wonder how this ball will handle it. After all, no one would want it getting slippery on their hands. Besides this, there's so much to consider about its performance outdoors as well. Will the ball pick up more or less dirt compared to the regular ones? Honestly, it's a valid concern, especially for the fans who love playing street ball. The feel of the ball and its surface might impact how much dirt it collects. Speaking of dirt, it could end up changing its player over time. After all, the airflow might get affected, with the ball becoming a bit lopsided. Just imagine the horror. But here's the interesting part. Wilson had admitted that these basketballs aren't NBA ready yet. Well, that's something, but history has shown us that sometimes appearances alone can lead to the green light. But I just hope the NBA won't rush things this time around. Making such a drastic change all at once can lead to some major issues. Just recall that cross-traxian disaster? Exactly, they won't want to repeat that mess. And this brings me to another issue, the rollout and testing process. Don't you think it's been a bit vague? When you're shaking up things in the NBA with a game changer like this, you've got to have a rock-solid plan and involve the player. After all, they're the ones playing, so their input is crucial. So there you have it. From the concerns about its performance outdoors to the introduction of the airless basketball prototype, that's how the NBA players reacted to the new basketball designs.